to Fantasy Filmball. My name is Dylan, as many of you out there may already know. I am one of the world's biggest James Cameron glazers. You can call me a superfan. You can call me a Navi Nation warrior. I have no shame over here because the Avatar franchise is one of my favorite things about cinema as a whole. In fact, I may go as far to say that The Way of Water is my favorite movie of all time. Watching James Cameron's magnum opus at this point is practically therapeutic. It's so visually transcendent, it's emotionally impactful, and most importantly, it's a movie you can completely give yourself over to AWOL with. From the grand technical flexes to the lovable characters, all the way to how the plot keeps diving deeper inside of Pandora's ocean of lore. I am absolutely the core demographic for Avatar: Fire and Ash. The past two films have been among my favorites of their respective years, and this film has been arguably my most anticipated movie for, well, since the first Sukun learned how to sing. I feel like I've been waiting my whole lifetime for Avatar: Fire and Ash. My co-host Matt and I had the honor of seeing Avatar: Fire and Ash at its New York City world premiere on December 1st, and originally we wanted to make this a little duo review. We haven't done one of those in a long time, and that's largely due to how our schedules keep getting more and more opposite. I have a brand new job, and Matt is over at film school, and it's the end of his semester. Stuff is just super crazy at this point, so sadly he is not able to be here with me today to talk about Avatar, but if you're interested in his thoughts, look at the description down below. There's a link over to his Letterboxd. I'm sure he will have his thoughts and his review updated around the time when this embargo officially releases. But something that we have had time to do here in recent weeks is do little week recaps of award season. We're diving into the thick of it here, and instead of just doing live reactions, because everyone does live reactions, how much new can you bring to the table, and how deep can you really go about what you just watched unfold? You need a few days to process it, and that's what we're doing here in Fantasy Filmball. So if you're not already subscribed, consider a subscription. It keeps you up to date with everything that we're doing. A like helps the channel continue to grow, and comment down below what are your thoughts on Avatar, not just with its awards chances, but with the franchise as a whole. And if you've seen Fire and Ash, what are your thoughts on the latest film from James Cameron? Without further ado though, let's dive inside this review, because the first thing I want to say to some may sound like the highest praise imaginable, and to others it's the confirmation bias that they've always held against James Cameron's passion project. But Fire and Ash is essentially a 3.5-hour epilogue to The Way of Water. As an audience, we pick up right where we left off. The Sully clan is mourning Neteyam, Spider is still wrestling with his daddy issues, and the Metkayina are grieving the fallen Tukun after the Sky People's attack. As someone who truly sees this franchise, I just love that this movie drops us right back into the story without wasting any time catching the audience up on what they may have missed. There's no previously on Pandora title card, there's no half-hearted exposition dump. Watching The Way of Water and Fire and Ash back to back is going to be such a religious experience, one I fully plan on committing to the moment Fire and Ash releases. This is a peak example of two epic parts with zero fluff, unbroken, unbothered, and laser focused. The opening grounds us in our characters immediately and hints at where their arcs will roll, will glide, and will soar over the next 3 hours. In my opinion, one of the most intriguing elements of Fire and Ash is how the aftermath of the Sky People's assault weighs on the Sully clan. You get to see a family who will always stick together and who says they will never give up, get put to the ultimate test. The cords that hold this clan together start to crumble, and the family begins to be ripped from the inside out. Early on into the runtime, the Sullys are uprooted from their Metkayina hideaway and are forced to go into the run. In doing so, we get to see the world of Pandora continue to expand. We meet the Wind Traders and just are shown how imaginative and unique this world really is. They have these lush transportation devices that have so much attention to detail, and this is just an aspect that remains one of the Avatar franchise's most impressive features. This especially continues to be the case when we are introduced to the Fire Nation. They are heavily featured in the marketing, but I feel like there's so much more captivating in execution. The character designs here are just so unreal. The face paint, the braids, the movements that border on animalistic. It's like watching warriors who were carved straight from the smoke and embers. I just ate it all up. And then of course there's Varang. You look on Twitter, you look on Letterboxd, when the embargo released, everyone is talking about Varang, the Fire People leader, hashtag smash, Mother Inferno, the reason why I understand the phrase I see you now on a spiritual level. One hallucination sequence featuring her had me basically levitating at the theater. Una Chaplin I just find to command every frame, not just with her cadence or her body language, but with her pure presence. Chaplin's Varang completely steals this franchise away with her limited screen time, and when Fire and Ash later takes its plot in other directions away from the Fire People's reign of terror, it feels like it loses a spark that you didn't realize you had grown so attached to. Her Varang is just unforgettable. It's truly the woman of our dreams. And some naysayers out there have already criticized Fire and Ash for feeling like a retread of Way of Water, but as many fans out there may know, these films were originally conceived to be one singular story, but Cameron and company chose to split that story into two cinematic events so you could leave no stone unturned, and honestly, the outcome I find is much better for it. We get more time to expand the world of Pandora, more adventures with Pyakon, more opportunities to flesh out our massive ensemble, and more one-of-a-kind action set pieces. Fire and Ash adds a ton of new material to the narrative, and not a single minute feels wasted. Every new element continues to expand and evolve our ever-ongoing and evolving story in meaningful ways. Technically and visually speaking, you already knew this, but Fire and Ash is just a feast for the senses. Following in its predecessor's footsteps, it's gorgeous from top to bottom. It carries that signature James Cameron visual DNA. It's got these painterly compositions, it's got the immaculate set pieces I've talked about before, and a world that always feels alive and ever evolving. The production design expands beautifully on the familiar. We have the Metcaina village, the Sully home, the RDA industrial nightmare, while introducing new locales like the Tulakun gathering waters, the Fire Clan's volcanic domain, and the Wind Traveler's roaming settlements. Whether if you're talking about awards or critic reviews or Letterboxd or just people generally talking about the Avatar franchise, I feel like routinely with each one of these movies, and Fire and Ash is no different, is some of the most critically underrated elements continue to be the masterful work over in the costumes and the makeup and hairstyling departments. Each Na'vi clan feels so distinctive from one another, from the varied color palettes to the intricate garment structure to the detailed accessories that feel just deeply cultural to each one of these clans. And obviously, it wouldn't feel like an Avatar film without the visual effects that feel like the Weta company opened like a wormhole to a whole other dimension and just shot on location. Like the Na'vi, the Tulkun, the creatures, every frame is just ultimate James Cameron flex in the best way possible. Another shout out I want to give out is to Simon Franklin, the composer. His original score, I feel, continues to impress. It's no easy task to helm the ship after the late great James Horner, but between his additions to The Way of Water and now here Fire and Ash, his compositions I find to be pretty stunning. Experiencing this at the DGA theater on the Dolby screen, the sound design especially just like blew me away, and it's probably, in my opinion, the real standout technical element from the previous few films. But enough about the technical stuff. We know the Avatar franchise is great with that. I want to talk about the performances because the returning cast continues to deliver what we all desire. Sam Worthington's Jake Sully, an Oscar winner. So happy to say that. It should have been for Avatar or even The Way of Water, but Oscar winner Zoe Saldana's Neytiri, these two remain the emotional backbone of this franchise. And in Fire and Ash, they each get moments to tug at every heartstring I have left. I especially found myself compelled at how far they go in a specific moment out in the forest with Spider. Really great acting on both of their parts. And then we have Britton Dalton, who continues to emerge into a bigger and bigger role inside this franchise as Lobak. And inside Fire and Ash, he gets even more emotional depth. Between his connection with Pyakon, his shame over Neteyam, and his continuing bonding with Bailey Bass Tessera, Dalton brilliantly showcases a range of emotion over this epic tale. If James Cameron gets the opportunity to continue making these Avatar films, I am so intrigued to see how he continues to make these three storylines so much more deeper and emotionally impactful. Now, for some cast members I weren't as high on, Sigourney Weaver and Jack Champion don't quite hit as hard as they did in The Way of Water. They get more screen time here, and it serves the story well enough, but personally would have liked to see more of their time go over to Trinity Bliss's Took or more scenes with Bailey Bass, as I mentioned before, with Loak. Even contrary to say, Stephen Lang's villain Colonel Miles Korsh lands some genuinely fun one-liners throughout Fire and Ash, but like, we get it, he's a dad, he's gonna have dad jokes, but it's getting dangerously close to all the people who complain about the bro saying bro at every scene in The Way of Water. Like, maybe one too many, but they're still fun. So like you can't be too mad because Stephen Lang has such a great screen presence inside these movies. But then, as I mentioned, we do have a newcomer here. Una Chaplin, her Varang, is my clear standout. She's ferocious, she's magnetic, and she's instantly iconic. I am so intrigued to see if there's more films. What more can she be given inside this franchise? Now, I do have one massive drawback here for Fire and Ash, and I think it's the fact that I care about this franchise maybe a little bit too much. Avatar 2009 was so formative in my love of cinema. Even The Way of Water took everything I adored from that movie to another level, both emotionally and visually, while still being an essential staple of my core beliefs of the cinematic medium. But here with Fire and Ash, it's gorgeous, it's gripping, but I don't find it really pushes the world as forward as I would have hoped. Like, sure, we get new tribes, we get to see new corners of Pandora, but some beats feel a little bit too familiar. The villain, despite being incredible, gets sidelined at a point for yet another Sky People conflict, a story that we basically watched 3 times in a row now. And while Courage has new motivations, the military and the corporate heads are still as uninteresting as they were in 2009. The RDA, I think, is a great concept. It just continues to be my least favorite or least intriguing aspect of all of these movies. With that being said, though, I do have some minor qualms with Fire and Ash, but James Cameron, at the end of the day, is a filmmaker I trust with my whole Navi heart. Every one of his films is just a gem, it's just a banger, it's just a great time at the theaters, and Avatar Fire and Ash is absolutely no different. I am the ideal demographic for these movies, and I do come out of Avatar Fire and Ash loving it, adoring it, wanting to watch it again, but I can't deny out there this is light little mist of disappointment settling over myself. And I don't think it's due to the movie itself. I don't think it's enough to dim the glow of how much I do come out of these movies feeling so energetic and feeling so happy. I think it's due to the hype around Fire and Ash. Like I said, it has been my most anticipated movie for what feels like 10 years now. Like, all the talk of this potentially being the end of the franchise. The stakes, they were never higher. There was promised heartbreak, but at the end of the day, I leave Fire and Ash feeling like Pandora is oddly familiar. I was expecting to come out of here seeing a whole new side of this world that Cameron and company have built, but I just feel like there's so much more left in store to uncover, and this is nowhere near the conclusion of the Sully arc. At the end of the day, I found Avatar Fire and Ash to be a cinematic triumph supported by out-of-this-world visuals, a fiery performance by Una Chaplin as Varang, and just that electrical theatrical experience that one can only dream of getting once or twice a year. James Cameron remains that guy. No one is making movies like Big Jimbo, because if there's one thing that Cameron doesn't do, and if only one thing that he doesn't do, it's leave an audience unsatisfied. Because Fire and Ash, well, it doesn't reach the heights of Way of Water. Those heights are pretty unmatchable. It's my favorite movie of all time. I still really do enjoy this movie, and I cannot wait to rewatch this movie this week. And that is going to bring us now over to awards predictions, because we are called Fantasy Filmball. At the end of the day, this is an awards channel, and sadly, Navi Nation Warrior right here, James Cameron super fan, a Sully who never gives up, has to admit that the Oscars might have given up on Pandora. They might have given up on James Cameron's Avatar. We know Cameron delivers the box office dollars, and as of late is like the last 20 years, but his last 3 movies have been showered with awards love. But before that, it wasn't always consistent with the Oscars, and I feel like maybe that's where Fire and Ash is heading itself to. It started off well, AFI, MBR, Best Picture nominations, but then it misses out on CCA. You can throw an asterisk there because the fact that voting was open before people got to see the movie. I saw it December 1st. There was a screening in LA the night before, but the CCA ballots were open like a week before that, and you had to write it into every category. So you can say, hey, that's why it missed there. But then it went on to miss the Golden Globe Best Drama nomination, and that could be the final nail in the coffin because Way of Water underperformed at BAFTA. So really, if you're Avatar, all you really have left is PGA. So you have PGA, AFI, and MBR. It's not the greatest trio of precursors to have on your side. So Way of Water had 4 nominations, so let's start there for Prospects Best Picture. I sadly have to say, I think it's on the outside looking in. I would love to be wrong, would love to have it come back around, push its way up into the 10, but due to how some of the films are performing and are overperforming and hitting every precursor, I feel like Avatar is just a step or a leg behind. But the one confirmed nomination that it has, the one confirmed win that it has, is Best Visual Effects. Write it in, pencil in, regardless of its Best Picture status, it's going to win this category. Sound and production design, I feel like, are kind of tethered to Best Picture. The work on its own, I feel like makes sense for a nomination, and I think with our shortlist and bake-off, sound could survive without its Best Picture nomination. I have a hard time seeing it miss the shortlist, and if it gets to the bake-off, they can showcase what they did with not just the world, not just with the action scenes, but every little intricate detail, the same way they did for Way of Water, and the same way how that film went on to get its nomination. Production design, there may not be as much new and expansive to show off like there was with the Metcaina tribe, but like I said, we have the Wind Traders, we have the Fire Nation, we have more RDA set up. Like, there is new things here, it just may not be as showy new things as what we had in the last one. So at the moment, I do have Avatar, Fire and Ash in for 3 nominations, those 3 categories, but I can totally understand if you have it for just 1. And I guess just to give a few extra mentions for where Avatar can show up throughout award seasons, obviously the guilds, as well as with SAG. I think it can get in over for Stunt Ensemble. Way of Water got in. I think this one can get in too. You look at the competition. I think maybe SAG throws a Palooza for something like One Battle or Sinners and overperforms despite the lack of action set pieces, but I don't know if Avatar would be the first movie that you would pluck out of the lineup to fit in one of those. And lastly, obviously the Golden Globes already happened. Box office achievement, I think it could win this, but what we've seen in the past is they don't always go for the biggest money maker. They go for the movie that they like the most that's in the category. So I really think there's 2 ways that the box office achievement category can go this year. I'm assuming K-pop is winning animated feature. I'm assuming Sinners is winning Best Drama Picture. So then I would assume Avatar would win the box office achievement. But if K-pop loses to something like Little Amelie, then maybe K-pop wins. If Sinners loses to something like Hamnet, then maybe Sinners wins. But that's going to bring us to the end of this episode. Awards prospects were rather light for this, which is sad for me to report. I love the Avatar franchise. I love Fire and Ash. I hope the best for it, but gotta be real, gotta be honest with all of you out there. But if you made this far in the video, thank you so much. It means the world to me that people want to hear me yap about Avatar. I don't know how long this episode will end up being. It's 30 minutes of my record right here, just blah 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 talking about the Na'vi. But like I said, thank you so much. You made this far. Consider a like. It helps the channel continue to grow. Comment down below. Let us know how we can improve these episodes. We want to make them more fun, make them more engaging. Not just reviews here, but anything that we do here on Fantasy Filmball. We're always open to feedback. But until next time, my name's Dyl. This has been Fantasy Filmball. Peace.